So one of my customers called about this Town and Country Chrysler van that has been made by Rollx, accessible, wheelchair accessible for disabled people. And apparently he had one of his guys working on the van, and I guess he messed up something with the wirings and everything. So the lift was not working, the kneel system was okay, but the door would not open. So I got right into it and did some diagnosis. The first thing I did was check out, make sure this safety neutral is grounded. There's two of them, and it goes to the first relay on top here. This goes to, I believe, pin number 30. The other one goes to 86 or something. And Rollx sent me the wiring diagram, which wasn't really very helpful because the wirings are not, the color code is not matching, and there's some indiscrepancies, and also it doesn't give me any readings in any of these switches, their on and off position. So you have the ramp up and ramp down limiter switches, which are basically located here, and these wires were put in wrong configuration. There's a couple of pins that goes in the bottom, and it's easy to miss them. So when you plug it in, it goes between the pin and the body of the switch, which shows, it feels like you have plugged it into the switch, but it's actually just not making any connections. And there's two wires on this side. These were in the wrong configurations. So, and then we have on this outer cam switch over here, which is the basically the down limiter switch. So when the ramp goes down, this will tell the computer module or the control module how far it should go before it stops the motor. And then one that goes up, it tells the computer or the control module when the ramp is in a closed position, retracted completely out of the doorway so that the door can actually close. So having those wirings done wrong, and also the cam positioning was wrong, so it was not sending any signal to the relay board over here, which basically sends the power to the motors here. So that was one of the issues there. And also these limiter switches, they were basically in the lower position, so it was really not making any contact with these cams. And then we had the door open limiter switch, which is located here. So basically what this does, it sends a signal to the relay board again, letting the system know that which position the door is. So when the door opens all the way, comes to here, and then it sends a signal through this 10 wire right here to the relay number 1 right there, and it's supposed to go to that brown wire where the brown wire is. So basically it should send a 12 volt to that relay, and that will activate the door opener, which is this motor right here, and then the door opens. So I found out that it normally this is these are all these 3 pins are basically grounded. So when you press the open button over here, it will it should change the reading on this 10 wire. It brings it from a 0 to a 12 volt, and that 12 volt goes to the relay number 1 here, which will send the power to the motor again. And seems like that was not, also the wires were reconfigured wrong. They put it wrong, so I had to figure it out with the help of Rollx, because the diagrams are not very clear. The wiring diagram doesn't have the right color coding. So what I did was I jumped this using this wire. I jumped it to the relay and found out that now it's actually working. So let's check it out. Open. So it goes, and once it hits this switch right there, then it activates the ramp. The ramp goes down, and when it gets to this position, it stops, and then the rest is just basically very smooth deployment of the ramp. So now we're going to try to close it, and now at this point, this cam gear right here, it activated the first switch right here, the first cam switch, letting the relay know that the ramp is out of the way and it can close the door now safely. So voila. Alright, another big mistake somebody did, they put grease on this arm which opens the door, and you're never supposed to do that, because what grease does over time, it attracts dust, and all it does is becomes this sticky gluey stuff that goes inside this rod, this tube here, or whatever you call it, and it becomes really sticky, so it puts a lot of load on the motor. What you need to do is, so what I did was actually I used some paint thinner, cleaned it up really good, and then I used some dry lubricant so it can smoothly operate. Basically a silicone dry lubricant, and it works pretty good. So another important thing I needed to point out when I was diagnosing, the first thing you need to find out to make sure that the system is powered up is to check out the kneeler. The kneeler mechanism is basically this hydraulic system which pulls this chain, and that helps the van. It basically brings it to the driving position, because what the kneeler does is when you're deploying the ramp, let me give you an outside look. So, and also you have the switch to operate from outside. So basically what this does is brings down the van, if you can see, opens the door, and then the van lowers down and gets to the kneeling position, basically makes it the deployment of the ramp possible. So now I adjust it to the point where the ramp will meet the if you have a curb or something, it stops right before that and then slowly goes down, and so just for smooth operation. So again, these things are supposedly notorious for this switch to go out. So first thing you want to do is check, make sure the switch is not shorted. And the other thing when it comes to diagnosing this problem is to find out if you have power here. And since I had the kneeler working, I knew I had power. The other thing I needed to check was this safety neutral, if it was getting grounded, and that was the case. It was grounding just fine. And that neutral safety is basically this wire that comes, it's actually connected to the body. In this case it doesn't go to the battery, and it basically it's supposed to be this 10 wire that goes to the switch that's by the driver's side under the steering wheel, and that's the kneel off and on switch, and it goes to two different circuits. One is black, the other one is white. The white one goes to the first relay switch here, and that's the one that was giving us all the problems. And this is that door limit switch that was also miswired, and as you can see over here, it doesn't really give us the right color coding. The orientation of the switch is much different here than it is on the vehicle itself. Right here, it's a different configuration and orientation. And then again, these two ramp up and down limiter switches was wired wrong, so that is corrected and everything seems to be working just fine. So now it's all back to these guys to put it back together. I just have to rewire this one because right now I use a jumper wire to make sure that's the problem. I'll see if I can find if there's a where the bad connection is. If I can't find it, I'll just go ahead and use a jumper wire and I'll do the trick. So yeah, there you go. I didn't see a whole lot of information on this online. It was nothing actually online about this except for just the wiring diagram. So wasted quite a bit of time trying to just get some information about these the voltage, the reading on these on this limiter switch. So basically right now, if you test this pin with the body of the vehicle, it should give you a ground, which is the case. And as soon as you press the open button, as soon as you press the open button, this should go from ground to a 12 volt, and now it's there, so it's all good.